Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
Hi, welcome back. Welcome back to the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. This is our second go,
Our second attempt.
a second attempt. You know that this means it's going to be the most epic conversation and episode that we have ever had in the whole time of this podcast. You know
I'd like
that?
to think so, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll make that the case.
Yes, it is. Welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself to everybody before we get cracking?
So, I'm Rebecca Cracknell, and as I sort of introduced myself to you last time we met, I hate introducing myself. But essentially, I am a mentor, I'm a coach, and I'm a teacher, and I work with women who are building businesses that are more about changing their lives than anything else.
Love it. Because when we did have we attempted this episode before, I said, "Oh, introduce." She said, "Oh, you don't like bios, you don't like pigeonholing yourself."
Hate putting myself in a box. I want to
Hate.
burn the boxes.
Burn all of the boxes. I was thinking about this metaphor the other day. It's like, what if you put yourself in a cage? Or no, because you're still trapped. I was thinking, how could you like not put yourself in a box, but know, because there is part of the work that you do, and we're going to come on to that, about people really knowing who they are. So it's
Yes.
not about getting in a box that other people have put you in.
No, I think it's about creating a box that feels safe enough to be yourself in, but flexible enough and free enough to be whoever the fuck you want to be in. And I really struggle with labels, both like societal labels, but also there are obviously lots of labels in the business world. And I think that they often come as well with a lot of connotations about what that might mean. And the conversations I have with other women who are building businesses in that way often like reinforce that for me. And so I think there is a personal level of I hate to be in a box. I think it's limiting and I am so much more than any single label. But I also think that within our businesses, we are able to challenge some of the narratives around the labels that we are given.
I love that. What about if we have a lane? Can we have a lane instead of a box?
I have not thought about the lane, but I think the lane is more about direction. And therefore, you can take your lane wherever you'd like to go. Therefore, you've got the freedom. Whereas the box is more, I guess, in my head, limiting in terms of where you can go.
Isn't this so cool that you can tell you to be an English teacher? Because I feel like I want to dissect it and do all of
Yeah,
the themes. What's the theme in this pack?
I love a theme. I
You love a
love a
theme.
theme.
I remember when I studied Philip Larkin, and there's Myfunwy poem. Do you know it?
I
Is it
don't
Philip
know it,
Larkin?
no.
No, it's John. Somebody else. It's not. Anyway, I think it
It's
might.
like first fail as an English teacher.
But this poem, it was touching. I remember having an argument with my A-level English lit teacher about the themes of it. I felt really empowered. I was like, no, I really do think anyway, that's me getting all geeky. But yeah, I love it when people talk about, you can always have an English literature conversation with people about Of Mice and Men, can't you?
Yeah, yeah. My husband he's a head teacher and he therefore doesn't teach all that often, just swans around the school and drops into people's classes. And before we were married, we used to work at the same school and he went into my friend's class to cover her lesson and read them the end of Mice and Men before they finished reading the book,
No.
which I think is actually a crime, but
Oh my God. God, what did he do? Did he know he was doing it at the time?
yeah, he's a wind-up merchant,
Oh,
but there you
really?
go.
God. There we go. That says a little bit about his character, doesn't it?
Yeah, it probably says more about mine too.
It probably does. So you met in a school then? Is that how you met each other?
Yeah, so we met in a school and then went our separate ways from the school, and then well, that's too long a story, but eventually found our way into having 3 kids and a whole life together.
Do love a love story though. And we are recording this really close to Valentine's Day. Do you celebrate Valentine's?
I wouldn't say it's my favourite holiday, but yeah, we'll probably exchange a card.
Will you? Me and my husband don't. We are Cheeseville. We're like, but every day is Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah, it's
He's
not in
not
our
romantic.
house.
He's not romantic, but so I do actually want some red roses. He's not going to listen to this. I'm going to see if I do want. I'm going to buy some myself actually because I can buy myself flowers, can't I?
You can buy yourself flowers, indeed. Yeah.
Right, we'll come back. I knew this was going to go off on one. What? So your business is about being more visible, more vulnerable with an ambitious vision. I love that you say ambitious. It's a bit of a. I feel like there's a bit of a love-hate word with this love-hate sort of attitude to the word ambitious. Oh, I love it. Have you found that, or is that just me?
Yeah, I think again this kind of comes to those boxes, and I think often like women are taught not to be ambitious, and we're taught to maybe stay in our own lane a little bit. And what I found with the work that I do with my clients is there is usually a moment where they suddenly go, "Fuck, anything is possible for me." And that's normally also the moment where we have to go, okay, so if anything's possible, what do we actually want to do? But I think we often kind of go through life thinking that there's a cap on what we're able to achieve, and that we are often kind of playing down where we think we want to be based upon what other people expect of us.
Where do you think that comes from?
Well, I think a lot of the stuff comes from the way in which we're kind of raised in school, actually. And since leaving school, and since having children of both sex and gender, I kind of have really noticed the way in which girls in school are kind of pushed to be academic and to be organised and to be on top of their game and to really study. And boys are kind of given a bit more freedom about what they might be. And I think there then comes like a bit of a flip with that in terms of what then is possible for you beyond that. And it's the freedom that enables you to kind of go after the things that you maybe want, not the studious, good girl, hardworking, tick those boxes in that exam setup. But I think it's probably bigger than that too. But that's a place where I've really seen it. And like I say, especially with my own children.
My son has got into Crystal Maze, you know, the new one.
Mm.
And there was a team, and there was one team, and they were shocking, all girls. They were shocking. And then there was the next episode was a team of all boys, but you could just tell where they were coming from. They were very intelligent. Not saying the other group weren't, but intelligence in a different way. And I said, I think this team's going to do well. And he went, yeah, because they're all boys. And I was like, hello, what? And I said, no, babe, no. Intelligence isn't down to gender. He's 6. I mean, I probably went on for too long. But I just wonder where, though, I think it's so much more talked about now than it was when we were kids. But I think we just got to have it on the front of our minds. But I've found with the word ambitious that the attachment to being ambitious is hustle and working long hours.
Yes. And again, I think that there is a sense that as women, the only way we can have success is by doing that. And again, it's that like, I need to be organized. I need to be like that 5% better than everybody else in the class, so to speak. And I need to be doing more and more and more in order to make that happen. And actually, one of the things that I help my clients to do is realize that their ambitions can sometimes be small everyday ambitions as well. And that isn't being unambitious. That is about really knowing with all that you are what actually you desire. Because again, I think there is a sense that desire can be a bit of a dirty word. And so we don't tune into what we truly desire. We just kind of collect pictures from everywhere else and go, oh, yeah, that should be what I want.
Mm. When your dream people then, when your dream clients and buyers come and find you, what are they looking for when they find you in the wonderful World Wide Web or in person?
It's really funny because I often think, and this has been a bit of a realization for me recently in my business, that when people come to me, I give them something they didn't know that they were looking for, which makes it quite hard to market at times. And again, it was a bit of a realization for me, like recently, that this was the case, because I think that actually people kind of think that they want practical solutions. They think, oh, I can do lots myself. I know what I'm doing. I know how to do a plan. I kind of need to know how to do this so I can go and implement it. And then there's this sense that they need to actively unlearn a lot of the stuff that they know in order to put all of those plans and all of those tools and all of those strategies and all of those approaches into action. And so it's that unlearning process that I kind of help them with.
So is it sometimes they find you, they're like, I just need to work with you, but I'm not really sure.
There's often an energy thing. I kind of started out in my business around content as well, off the back of being an English teacher. And I was, when I first started out, I did a lot of done for you content. So I was writing people's blogs, I was creating social media content, things like that. And I think there's a combination of those two. I do help people with their messaging, and I do, despite the fact I hate my own bio and hate writing my own bio, help other people to really sum up what makes them so special and unique. But I think what people don't realize is in order to do that well, you have to really understand what makes you so special and unique. And that comes from doing that work that so many of us kind of put down as a nice to have over there, of like, oh, I don't need to do that. That's like self-actualization work. That's fun for when I've actually done this stuff that's on my to-do list. And I think that's kind of the hustle part too, right? We think, oh, I need to make my sales page better, and I need to, like put out a post every single day, and I need to do. And actually what people don't always realize is that in order to make that do really easy, you have to understand who you are, what you do, what you want, all of those bigger picture things that, as I say, kind of feel like a nice to have.
Mm. Yeah, but they're essential.
Yeah.
That's the fuel to get you going. There's two parts to this question. What's special and unique about you, and why does it matter to the people you work with?
That's a really good question. What is special and unique about me? So I'd say that there's a lot of things, but I think when it comes to my work, one of the things that's special and unique about me is maybe the reason why I hate putting myself in a box. And that is that I think I move effortlessly between kind of teacher mode and coach mode and mentor mode, and that I can be really responsive to what people actually need. And I think that probably comes down to the fact that when you are that English teacher, those moments of magic that transform students, whether that's like finding a love for Shakespeare or like recognizing their own ambition, usually don't happen in the lesson plan. They happen in those moments in between. And I think I overlooked that for a really long time in my business. But that ability to kind of give people what they need in the instant is something that sets me apart.
I completely agree with you. I've realized that's one of my things, again, teaching, but I think you forget how many skills you have to use at one time as a teacher,
Yes.
and meeting the needs of so many people in one room, that then when you have just one person in front of you, it's like I don't
It's
know
like
about
turned
you.
up, right?
Yeah. It's like, it's so intense. And yeah, like 100%. I think that's a massive superpower. What about superpowers in your normal life? We'll say normal life, but you know what I mean, like outside of business.
Or I don't have a normal life, superpowers in my normal life. I'm a great mum. Like,
Yeah.
I really am a good mum. And it comes down to that same reason. And actually, when I was kind of trying to pin down what I did in my business, I looked at, okay, so who am I beyond my business? And that helping people be their very best self is something that I picked up. And like, one of the places I see that most is in my kids. None of them are here, so I can make out like they're incredible and perfect humans. And obviously they're not perfect, but I think my relationship with them and how I nurture them is something that makes me incredible. I don't know. I've literally just watched Amanda Land and I now live in fear that I am Amanda. And that's in my head. I'm like, I'm a narcissist. I'm self-obsessed. I can just think of all these terrible, terrible things.
Oh, I haven't. Is it good? Is it worth watching?
Oh, I mean, it was funny. I'm like, it's either I'm a massive narcissist, I'm incredibly self-aware, or this is brilliant scripting, and I'm not sure, and don't answer on that. But
Self-focus.
yeah,
Self-focustry, if that's not a word,
yeah,
but being self-focused is better. I remember like that. I think now it's so much more accepted to be self-focused, but when it used to be like, I don't want to be selfish, and selfish is when it doesn't impact anybody else, but when you're self-focused, the impact it has on every other person is beneficial. So it benefits, obviously, you're a shining example of how obviously you do focus on yourself, and you can be an amazing mum because your cup's full enough to pour out.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, like there are definitely times where I get that wrong, and where the balance tips. And I think having like lived that experience of not having that perfect balance between life and business and who you are and who you are for other people, actually brings that wealth of experience to what I do as well. I have bipolar disorder, so that balance between like who I am feels like it's often tipping, and that self-focused work is what enables me to kind of navigate that both like in my life and in my business.
Yeah. And the thing with bipolar, you got to look after yourself because you don't like number one, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a realization in my life. And I think it is definitely one of the things that has given me, I'm going to use the word gift,
Yeah.
certain attributes that enable me to be a better mum, to be a better partner, to be a better business owner, to be a better like coach and mentor, like all of those things. But it's come from being able to, like you say, focus on myself, who I am, what I need, what I don't need, what I desire but maybe shouldn't have, all of those things, and being able to answer those big questions really then means that as you are navigating that path or that lane, you are in a position where you're not afraid to ask the question.
Mm. Yeah. And that's because you're creating the space where
Yeah.
it can be asked. There's so many spaces that, especially in the online world, where you don't ask a question because even though it's online, it feels incredibly unsafe. you've been in them spaces where you think you're going to look like a twat, where you want to be in the spaces where everyone's a twat because everyone asks silly questions because that's how you learn, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think, like, from a personal perspective, I can look back on periods of my life and think, oh, I was in that space because I really wanted to be in that space. But all I felt was, oh my God, I'm going to look like a twat. I'm going to look like a twat. I'm going to look. And then it's like a sense of regret around it.
You need some water, babe. Oh,
Sorry.
gets us. Do you know how many times I choke on my spit when I'm doing these podcasts? My husband's always like, how do you choke on your own spit? And I was like, oh, not. You're right. So, you're such a juicy guest because there's so much that I want to ask about. And I love that there's obviously, I meet a lot of people on the podcast and that have come in like singing from a similar hymn sheet to me, but that you had that teacher experience. And I think anytime I meet an ex-teacher, it's like, it's part of your DNA when you become a teacher. And I think everybody's born to be a teacher, whether you stay in the profession or not. And it's like part of you. And then there's teachers that I've met or ex-teachers that I've met that don't embrace those transferable skills because it's in some examples too painful because they got so burnt in their profession coming out of it, and then even considering that, well, that wasn't a way, like, you can bring those skills in. So I just find it was just so interesting to talk to someone who's on that level, but going, yeah, actually, no, I can bring it in. I remember when I first launched my first group program a few years ago, and how I remember going, this is why this is it. This is why I've done all of that work in my first career, working with vulnerable adults and learning all about that, and then working in a school and getting to the point where I was overseeing all of that. And then I did my master's degree, and then I brought all of that research into the warrior energy stuff that I teach inside the Very Business Club. And then, and all of my life lessons, I'm like, this is why. It felt like I got to the top of a little pyramid. Not that I reached my peak. I still don't think I'm at my peak yet. I just hope yeah. But like, you get to that point where you think, now it all makes sense. Now every step.
Is that the lane thing? In that it's that sense of when you're in your own lane, it feels like everywhere you have been is taking you everywhere you're going.
Yeah.
Whereas when you are trying to kind of go in all different directions, it doesn't make sense because it's not your journey.
Yeah.
And that J word obviously gets so overused. But that idea of like bringing everywhere that you have been to give you the direction. And obviously, like, I agree that teacher thing, when I left the profession, I very much felt like I have no skills. I've never worked in a business. Like, somebody has always done my pay, somebody, like, and I worked in the same school for a really long time. But that idea that once I started doing other work, I really learned that there was nothing quite like it in terms of, like you say, those skills that make you so good with people, those skills that mean that you're able to kind of be really adaptable because you're used to doing fucking everything on your own.
Yeah.
Like, being in a classroom, like, and responding question. And I think, again, for me, that was when it felt like, oh yeah, all this has come together. This isn't changing lanes. This is just, now I've got control of my direction. And like, I do tend to work with a lot of ex-teachers as well. So I work with a couple of tutors. There's somebody who, again, like, teaches in a different capacity. And I think there is a bit of like attracts like in that. And you can see that magic that somebody else has got really clearly, because you know that they're bringing it from a space that is like nothing else. Like standing in front of a class of 30, 34 sometimes, humans who like don't instantly respect you, who don't instantly, like you have to demonstrate your value to them in a way that comes. And I think this is where, when I talk about like vulnerability, again, this is kind of like a learned lesson. You are in that learning experience. So whether that is like traditional classroom setup, or whether you're putting your trust in somebody like as a coach or mentor, you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And when you do that, and I'm saying this as somebody who works with my own coach and or mentor, like when you do that, when you finally kind of let that guard down, the things that you learn and discover about yourself, but also about like your path and where you might go, are incredible. And that vulnerability is kind of like that unspoken magic. And like I hosted my first retreat 2 weekends ago, and honestly, I can't stop talking about it,
Wish I'd gone.
mainly because of that, like that unknown magic. We had planned that weekend within an inch of its life, but I could not plan the moments that really made it special and unique, because they were the moments when people were prepared to let their guard down. They were the moments when people showed incredible trust, both in themselves, in other people, in us as people delivering, and facilitating the sessions. But you can't account for that. And it is magic when you are prepared to say, I'm open to it.
What have you got to let go of in order to be that open to it?
Ooh. I think that depends on what you're holding on to. And I think what you're holding on to comes from all that you've been or had to be in the past. So I don't think there is a single answer for that. I think some of it is around ego and who we believe we have to be or should be. Should is a word that comes up in my work a lot. So I think there's that. But I also think it's about letting go of some of the roles, responsibilities, even attributes that society deems as worthy. And so there is that sense of like your worth is tied up in a lot of things that we believe to be like good. But the reality is that nothing is good or bad. Like one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that idea that our biggest weaknesses are actually our greatest strengths. And when we are prepared to kind of own that and really be accountable for it too, so not use it as an excuse, but like say, that's me. That's when we can kind of find out how powerful it can be for us.
The moment that you just say, yeah, I'm shit at that. And it's
Yeah,
accepted.
but again, like not use it as an excuse, not be
No.
like, yeah, I'm shit at that, so I'm not going to do it, but be like, yeah, I'm shit at that, I'm going to work at that, or yeah, I'm shit at that, I'm fucking excellent at that over there.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I think a lot of the things that you're forced to let go of when you are doing that up leveling and doing that like deepening of your understanding of who you are and who you want to be, a lot of it comes back to that sense of like where we place value on what's worthy. And again, like what we were saying about, or what I was saying about children in schools, like sometimes we give like, oh, intelligence, that's worthy, like that's good.
Yeah.
Hard work, that's worthy, that's good. Creativity, oh, that's a nice to have. Like I think that these are the things that define our identities, and actually a lot of it is built on myth.
Mm,
And it's our
yeah.
job to question. Like,
Mm,
we are allowed to question that at any point, but it's the case that we live in a world where we're not often invited to question that. So it has to come from us.
yeah. How privileged are we that we've got the space to do that? I would not have even had that even inkling when I was a teacher. This
No.
is the thing, like, if you want to, if you want to learn, like, get a really steep learning curve into who you are, self-awareness and all about you, start a business.
Oh,
Because,
absolutely.
like, there's no opportunity I would ever have had in the job. Like, I know that when I was working, I was just constantly running away from my own recovery of my trauma and all of that. I just constantly running away. If I keep busy, I keep busy, it'll be fine. Like, I can get through it. It'll be all right. Um, and then when I stopped, the tsunami that hit me in the face, it was like, frig, I did not know I was carrying all of that. And
Mm.
that's why life felt so heavy. I was carrying a shit ton. And then moving through and going, oh, okay, that's not sort of bad thing, and all of that. I'm working it all, but actually allowing myself the space to do that. Like, how wonderful. Well, my research for my master's was looking at teachers' energy and saying, and this is where warrior energy comes from. And if they expand themselves, like, and do those warrior energy toolkit things that I teach now in the beginning of the day, how much more capacity they have for the students. Therefore, there's going to be less challenge, like behavior issues, because they're able to regulate themselves so that they can get things done. They've got more energy. So they have like this constant, like, but it, when do you get the space to even stop? Because the teachers are going, yeah, but I've got to go and do that, and I've got to do this. And I feel really privileged, actually. I'm just become governor of my son's school, and my sister's a head teacher in a primary, and how they have these no books taken home at out of
Oh,
the school.
gosh, I love it.
No books rule. And the head teacher of the school, my son's school, said some staff, I do see them being sneaky and trying to sneak them out. And in my school, it was, if you're not taking books home, you're not working hard enough. Therefore,
Yeah.
who the hell do you think you are? I mean, it might have changed now. I mean, it's coming up to 5 years since I left. So, but
Yeah.
that idea that you didn't have to take your work home. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, like, we talk so much about work-life balance, like, in life. And actually, it's bollocks, because we just get life. We've just got life. And your work should really infuse that and make it have purpose and make it give you fulfillment and make it feel satisfying. And if we are striving for work-life balance, isn't that just compromise?
yeah.
Like,
No, I just love working though. Look,
oh,
I
absolutely.
love
Yeah.
being like a mum and a wife and being a friend and doing all the fun things. And I love being on my own and going for walks and I love all of that. But I really love working. And I feel sometimes it's like a bit of a, oh, and I'll hand on heart, I create, and this isn't the same for everybody, but I didn't create my business to be a better mum. I created my business to be a better me that makes me a better mum, but it allows me flexibility to be the mum that I want to be. But I didn't create this business for Jackson. Sorry, mate, but you weren't the reason, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I hear that a lot when I start working with women. They often say, oh, I created it. And I was guilty of the same, of saying, like, so that I can be on the school run, so that I
Yeah,
could
yeah,
go to
yeah.
the nativity, etc. But actually, when I dig deeper, that isn't why I do what
No.
I do. This is mine. And this is what has allowed me to carve out my fresh identity off the back of, once upon a time I was teacher, then I was mum, and now who am I? Like, this business gives me the opportunity to ask those questions and to go, oh yeah, who could I be? Like, what might that look like? And how would I achieve that? And all of those things. And I often say that, like, when we talk ideal client, etc., and when I'm trying to really hone that bio and get it good, like, I work with women who are creating businesses that will change their lives. And that doesn't necessarily look like them, sat with their laptop on a yacht. That looks like changing their lives from the inside out and it's changing who they are and what they want for themselves and what they believe is possible for themselves and all of those things that really, like you say, we live in a world that's busy and we do jobs that are busy and we parent in a way that is busy, you know, like I'm going to come off this, go on the school run, go to tennis, blah, 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 blah. And it's drowning out all of those questions. But actually, like you say, aren't we lucky that we get to be in a position where we're creating from scratch something that allows us to ask them?
We made this like ourselves. It is. I love when you just said, "This is mine." Yeah, it's mine. It's mine. Delegation though, like, I'm getting, yeah. But yeah, I love that. It's like you just creating. I mean, I never ever. There are some days where I think, oh, my energy's a bit low, and I've booked in a meeting, and really, if I had to choose, I'm probably better on the sofa. And some days I will change things around. But there isn't really any moments where I go, oh my God, what am I doing in my life? Because I get to do this. I get to build this amazing thing that has limitless possibilities. I get to help limitless people in how I've set the business up. I don't, I'm not afraid of success and what's around the corner because it impacts so many people in such a beautiful way. I get to do this. How can it? Never ever. It's like when you were saying about being neutral and how if there's a challenge that shows up in my business, how I'm like, brilliant. I get excited now. I think if shit hits the fan because I'm thinking, something really exciting is coming. Really exciting. Like this is buzzing. Like then we had, everything comes in threes.
Yeah.
My husband's been really poorly. I think he's on the mend now. Then my gorgeous little dog Skylar isn't very well, so I had to take her to the vets yesterday. And I was like, I said to my husband, I went, there's a 3. There's something else coming. And then I trod in the most massive pile of bird shit in my garden as I come in from the office. I went, is that it? Brilliant.
I'll take that. Yeah.
That's the 3rd one. I was like, brilliant, fantastic.
Yeah.
Like I think having that attitude, it is a teacher attitude as well, I must say, because I was presenting, doing something, and all the tech failed. I was doing a masterclass. And I was like, I'm a trade teacher. I don't need slides. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like I can teach you a full lesson on Macbeth with no resources, no books. We don't need books. We'll do it just on the fly.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can do anything, right?
Absolutely. One of the Vivid Business Club members, she said that she's turning her business with sort of like a holistic approach to maths for her tutoring. She used to be a teacher. And I said, you used to be a teacher. You can literally do anything. Don't worry about it. It's totally possible. So when your dream people come in, your dream buyer, dream client, I often used to say dream buyer because obviously then it's for product-based businesses as well. But your dream buyer comes to you and you meet them. What is, and I know that there's going to be a personalized approach for whoever you meet, but if you could see her right in front of you right now, what is the best advice that you would give her in this moment? What does she need to hear?
Well, that's a really good question. And the reason it's so good is because I often tell people all the time when they're creating content, like, what's the one thing your person needs to hear right now? And you've put me on the spot. Now I'm like, oh, just one thing. I think it might be you don't even know what's possible for you yet. And I think it is that idea that I often work with people at that point when they don't realize that they are just embarking on the biggest work that is going to be the most rewarding, most fulfilling. They haven't had that realization moment yet. And so they think there's still a cap and they think there are still rules and they think that there is still like that one size fits all strategy that they should be following that's going to get them X result and they'll be happy with X result. And what they haven't quite got yet is that idea that oh fuck moment, like I can do anything and I haven't even thought yet. So I think I'd tell them that. I think like you don't even know yet. But then that sounds a little bit patronizing. So maybe I wouldn't say it to their face.
It's not patronising, it's empowering. Like, you don't even know.
You don't even know.
Say like that.
Like, I mean, I had a moment when we were talking before about being a teacher. It felt like had like grabbed a teacher bestie in the staff room and was like screaming into their face, going, "Oh my God, this is what we get to do now." Like, I think it is that moment of right now, you have no clue what's possible for you. And like, I say that to myself as well. Like, my reality now is my reality now. Like, what that might or could look like is entirely dependent on those challenges, those questions, those situations and scenarios that I choose to put myself in.
Yes. That is, oh God, you just hit it now, because I was talking to somebody in the business club about this, and it's like, but that is so hard for some people to accept, that you are actually in control of what's frustrating you.
Yes. And to, like you say, find the joy or the pleasure in that frustration and that challenge. I think being able to do that and go, oh yeah, like, this is on me, and it doesn't have to feel like shit. It can feel fun. Like, you taught maths, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that bit where you solve something and you're like, yeah, like the satisfaction of that is like nothing else. And, like, I often talk about like reading pleasure and stuff like that. It's reading for pleasure isn't just, oh, that's a nice story and I enjoyed that. It's like overcoming challenge. And I think recognizing that, like you say, you're in charge of the challenges that you seek out is something that is a bit of a game changer, really.
Absolutely. I've coached so many people now, but that moment that it can go either way, of when you say, but you know that you're fully in control of this. There's nobody else to blame here. There's nobody else to, pass it off and go, yeah, but no, you have got, and in the mastermind I run on Monday, we met for our in-person day, and that we had a conversation about how they get to decide what they're like. If something's not working, why isn't it working?
Yeah.
And then there was this moment where one of them said, well, I have this idea that, like, my husband is really jealous of the fact that I get to do this, so I feel bad sharing it. And that's come up a few times with a few clients, actually. I get to do this and they've still got to do their job. And I'm like, but he doesn't, does he? He's choosing to stay there. You got to choose your hard. Like, is it harder to stay or harder to go? Because both are hard, but both, and it's the same with my husband. When I stopped telling that story to myself, which was a couple of years ago, and he was like, I actually had a conversation with him about it. He said, why would I not want you to work when you have got you can actually retire me?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I don't need to, I'm not jealous. I want you to, go and do the amazing thing. But he would rather me do it than him.
Well, yeah. And I think it's funny, isn't it? Because so many women kind of find themselves in that position where they feel like their hand has been forced and they have to leave their career. And it feels like everything has been taken away from them. And it feels like that moment where you're like, oh, I sacrificed my career. I'm now like either just a mum, and I literally don't mean just a mum, but that label that you put on yourself. Or it's that idea of like, I feel this bit now with my own kids. Oh, they're getting bigger and they're not going to need me. Like, you feel like your hand's been forced. It's the best thing that could possibly happen, because it's that, like, it's not rock bottom, but it feels like it, right? It feels like, what the fuck have I got to lose? Like, and so in that moment, it almost becomes easy to choose your hard, because your hard is like, it feels like the only available option to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that definitely isn't the case, but the appeal of it is so strong that, like, you can see why so many people are then in that position where, like, it's, oh yeah, I'm going to build my business now. It feels like the right moment. I think that's maybe where some of that, like, then you wrap it in the limiting belief of like, oh, I'm just here so that I can be on school run, and I'm just here so that
Yeah.
and that's why you need to kind of break that down so that you can really like make it limitless. But I think that is a big reason why in that moment, like so many people find themselves going, oh yeah, I'll do that thing. I'll do that thing that's lived inside my head for however long that I've never done. Like my friend said to me, she's a like mum friend, and we used to go on a Wednesday to the soft play at the farm. And when I said I'd started my own business, she's like, oh yeah, you always wanted to do that. And I'm like, did I? She's like, yeah, you used to talk about it all the time. I'm like, oh, did I? But I think like it often feels like the fantasy. And actually, it's not till you're in that position whereby it feels available to you that you feel brave enough, confident enough to go, yeah, I can take that.
Yeah, and you don't need permission for that to become available to you. You can actually
No,
just go,
absolutely not.
oh, I can do it for myself. And I think it's also not letting go of the idea that it's absolutely fine to do it, want to do it for you. Going back to that we were talking about earlier about like this business I made because I wanted to do it. Nothing to do with my son. That having him gave me the opportunity to hear that voice because I was on maternity leave, which for me it was a holiday, even though it was difficult, but it was because I was in my house. I never in my house. But that moment where I'm like, no, I want to do this because I want to do it. My why is connected, is to do with Jackson and my husband. And yet, of course, I want to give them, create a lovely life. But actually, hands up, I'm doing it for me. And there are some people, I think that becomes difficult for them to own it. Go, no, this is for me, me. When there's so much as we were growing up, like, that's selfish. I can't believe you're doing it for you. Like,
Yeah.
and then there's the element of money. Because if you're not earning enough money doing it for you, then what is it then? Is it a hobby? And then again, going right back to the beginning of this conversation, why are you putting a label on my business? It's mine.
Yeah.
I put the labels on my business if I choose the labels.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like so true, isn't it? Like there is a lot of that external noise. And actually what I see is a lot of people trying to build their business in a way that they're getting that external validation of
Yeah.
like, I've ticked that, I've ticked that, because it's trying to prove like, if I'm doing it for me, it's really worth it. It's like, it's still valid. Like, it's almost like it's not enough to just do the thing that you want to do, but it so is.
Yeah.
And yeah, like there are obviously life factors in that sometimes you have to pay your bills, but it is absolutely enough to be building something that gives you fulfillment and gives you satisfaction and allows you to put your talents, your gifts, your passions, even actually the things that you're shit at, into practice. And like, we get fed a little bit of a lie every time we log into Instagram and we see like those versions of your business has to be this and your business has to be that. And actually, like, I'm sure you probably find yourself saying the same, but there are times when we all fall into that trap of living in that way. But actually, like, to know right down in the core of your why that what you're doing is about something that is so much bigger than just external markers of success. Like, that's the thing that's going to keep you going through those hard times, because there are going to be hard times. Like,
Yeah.
and like you say, they're actually the bits that make it rewarding.
Mm. And also, when you just line it up to you, you're anchored to who you are, you're doing what you want to do, the money comes in. It's not, as soon as you're like, oh, do you know what? I'm doing this for me, internal validation, and you just become a great big fucking lighthouse and everyone's going, oh my goodness, what one of my clients again in the dream team, that's literally spoke about it so long in this mastermind about being your future self now. How do you want to feel? What does that look like? And the conversation, again, one of those things where you can't plan that one question. I literally asked one question and it was just one of the most powerful conversations I saw going on. And she keeps seeking out. And we did do a little bit of work on her messaging. We did, but one of the things that she walked away from was she's done so much work on her mindset, so much that it's slipped a bit. That I said, you need to recalibrate this because you've outgrown what you had in the first place. Now you need to connect and retweak a few things and connect back to you. And we really kept talking about the internal validation. Next day, she's got this proposal on the table. Honestly, it's so much money. And I went, well, and I literally said 24 hours before, you line this up, babe, you'll become a great big fucking lighthouse. You won't have to do much work. It will just be attracted. And then the next day, boom. It's like, I actually got goosebumps thinking about it again because I'm like, she pulls this off, which is very likely. Yeah. She doesn't even need to pull it off. It's like basically already happened. But you know what I mean? Like, that just lines up with the most perfect example of when you anchor him into you, you work on that, and also getting in a room with magical people that are on your wavelength, what that does to your energy, turns you into a fucking lighthouse.
It's definitely been one of my best and biggest takeaways from running my business, of like the rooms that you can allow yourself into when you let yourself, and what happens off the back of those connections. Like, that is just magic, right? Like, and the feeling of that is something that you can't sum up in a way that anyone who hasn't experienced it would be able to understand. I know I'm an English teacher. I like to think I'm quite good at descriptive writing. But like that magic of being surrounded by other people who see you for who you, not just who you are, but all the things you could be, and have that belief in you, and like, again, sounds a bit corny, but like want to see you win. Like, it isn't about that sort of hustle culture of, oh, what's that person doing over there, and can I do that, and can I, like, it's literally like the magic of getting to be your very best self. And like, I think that's like, that was definitely when I kind of reflected on what makes me good at what I do, that was one of the things that came up for me, like, as a teacher, the fact that I was able to see that in people and able to hold those people in my space in that way. And that's what I bring to my work now. But like you say, when you're in spaces and rooms where that's just the norm, like, and it's not people tearing you down, and it's not people like who are trying to quash that ambition or any of that, or reinforce those stories that like kept you stuck. It's just like a space where you get to create that version of you that you really want to be.
Yeah.
Or that you're finding out you want to be. Because I think that's actually the part that a lot of people overlook. Like, this building a business isn't like knowing instantly, oh, that's what I want. Like, something I found really hard is I'm a bit shit at setting goals, because I've never really asked myself, what is it I really want? So I'm a bit terrible at setting goals. But that process of finding out, that's actually where the magic lies too. And when you can be in those rooms where that's permitted, like, feels so good.
Yeah. You're coming to my next event as well?
Yeah.
You're going to see? It's a whole...
I literally cannot wait.
It's going to be really good. It's that kind of, well, I say that, but you're right. Like, every time I'm going to plan, and I did Monday, over plan, because I'm a teacher. Over plan so much.
The lesson plan's got to take 4 times as long as the event, right? Yeah.
Every single time. And this is what happened on Monday. It was one question, and it just went on for like, but it was just, oh my God, it was so good. But yeah, when you come, it's my first one in London with the Vivid Business Club. I normally travel all around, but yeah, I'm so excited for you to be part of it. But when you said that, you described the Vivid Business Club in that way, because you said, in a room of people that see what you can be.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I do. So thanks, because it's open now. So
because you're going to have that as the tagline.
Have that, yeah. But it's true. Like, there's one, one member. It's sharing how shit you feel and your doubts, as in the same space as somebody, and in the same session even, then somebody's talking about a big dream, and that's all okay. Nobody's telling, no one's going, oh, I better not share that because that's going to make that person feel shit. Because no, it isn't. It's just inspires that other person to lift them up and be like, this is what can happen for you. You can keep going, and how it's all a wave, and sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. And yeah, anyway. Oh, I'm looking at the time. You've got to do the school run soon, haven't you?
Yeah, you have to do a school run, yeah. And then full on juggle. But, it's all coming back to that why, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've got the Wednesdays, I don't have to do it. I've been doing a lot of school runs, and I was thinking, I like the fact that I share these out. I'm glad that I don't do all of them.
That's why you don't marry a teacher.
Yeah. But holidays though, eh?
I mean, it's got its perks, but it also means they're there for the whole holidays. Didn't sign up to that, but apparently I did.
Yeah, love it. Well, last question then, babe. There is, again, I've overplanned. There was a few that I wanted to ask that we didn't get to, but this is what I ask all of the guests on the podcast. What would you tell yourself 10 years ago that you know now, but you wish you knew then?
Oh, you prepped me for this one last time. I think it comes back to that idea that you don't need permission to start. And it doesn't need to be, like we said, it doesn't need to be because you haven't got any other option available. It doesn't need to be because, oh, it's a new year and I need a new goal. It literally can be, I want to start this thing because I want to start this thing. And nobody else is going to come along and actually say to you, yeah, you can do that. Like, you have to give yourself it in order to even get started. But the second that you give yourself it once, like the second you say, that's okay for you to want that, that's okay for you to do that, it will become so much easier for you to give yourself permission to do whatever you want again and again and again and again. And like, one of my biggest things is, like, I'm 42. There's a lot of me who says, oh my God, why didn't I start this sooner? Why didn't I do this sooner? Think of what I could have achieved if I'd done this sooner. But it came back to that idea of, like, I didn't give myself permission sooner. But now that I have, like, I have got all of that I'm bringing with me, all of the places that I've been, onto where I'm going next. And so many people put off giving themselves permission. Oh, I need to be qualified for this, and I need to do this, and I need to tick that box before I get started. But that's all just bollocks. Like, just tell yourself, that's okay, you can do that. And the second you do, that, like, infinite possibility opens up for you.
Just have to say yes to yourself. So is there anything that you want to say yes to yourself for that you've not yet?
Oh, that's a big one.
Little add-on. Yeah, that isn't that a big one, isn't it?
Thanks for that one. So off the back of my retreat, I made myself a promise. We kind of wrapped up with what are we committed to doing, and my commitment to myself was to walk towards the thing that scares me. So I'm giving myself permission and saying yes to myself to kind of go towards all of those things that feel scary.
Yeah, love that. Oh, you've been an absolute... I want to know about all of the things. We don't have to record. I have to do it on the recording. Thank you for spending this hour with me, babe. It's been absolutely glorious.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
Okay, so I'm an Instagram girly, and I am at Rebecca Cracknell on Instagram. You might find me other places, but don't judge me on that.
That's interesting. I want to go Google you now. Thank you so much, gorgeous. Yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, see you soon.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Written, produced and hosted by Claire Hill, and music has been composed by my brother, Phil Vick.